What's up, everybody? How you doing? Another happy Tuesday and another edition of Giants Collective. As always, I'm joined by Adriana down there, Anthony over there, Chris is down there. Big shout out to SeatGeek and Sleeper for sponsoring the show tonight. You can also check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to become a member, you just click the join button, become a member, get those cool emojis, your name in the outros, monthly member messages, all the good stuff that you get when you're a member. Here we are, Giants fans, day after the first day of fall, and the season has fallen already as the New York Giants with another lackluster performance on Sunday night against the defending AFC champion Chiefs, the game in which Russell Wilson looked incredibly bad, as has the offense most of the year outside of the game against the worst defense in the league. And obviously,
we played ourselves.
No, Dallas actually has a worse defense.
I'm kidding.
But that has led to the major news today, which is earlier than we expected, but absolutely a necessity for Dable and Shane and everybody else to save their jobs. So no pressure on this kid, Adrian. You just got to save jobs. You got to save the franchise. You got to save the fan base. You got to save the players. You got to save the media because everybody's at each other's throats. Give us your summary of what happened in the game against Kansas City and what you think about Jaxson Dart against the Chargers.
I am mostly just disappointed yet again with this football team. The Chiefs game was close for a majority of it, at least through the first half. And we have kicker problems again because we have issues apparently with kickers and roster management and all sorts of things that other teams don't seem to have the same issues with. And they most certainly don't make the same mistakes over and over again like the Giants do. So a lot of struggles there. And I was so frustrated that we couldn't get the offense moving. And then when we could get the offense moving, we failed in the red zone again. Like it's just week after week, year after year where we have red zone struggles. And you can't blame, it's the quarterback. Sometimes it's the offensive line. Sometimes it's the play calling. Sometimes like all of it is just a mess. My biggest problem with the red zone is if we hear all the time that they have all these packages for Jaxson Dart, why aren't you using him in the red zone? Why are you using him in the middle of the field when Russ was driving the ball down the field, getting momentum, not having any issues, and then you just throw Jaxson Dart in there to hand it off to Scadaboo? What are we doing? Do that in the red zone 4 times in a row and see if you can score a touchdown. Why aren't we doing that instead of Russ out there who threw it away 8 out of 8 times in the red zone? Like, I don't understand a lot of things that they do, clearly. And it was just, that game overall was disappointing. I feel like we saw really good play at a lot of different players. The offensive line was better. They could run block. They were able to run more than they have in any game. We had success there. And then not a single wide receiver could get open. And they didn't even try to throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. He's one of the best players in football. I don't care if he's double teamed. At least throw it up there and give him a shot to make it. And if that's not going to happen, then try him in a different way. Why are we not running screens? Why are we not doing slants? Why are we not doing handoffs, end arounds? Like, I hear so much bullshit about this offensive genius that we have as a head coach, and there's not a single ounce of creativity. And when we're struggling in the red zone and we're struggling to score, there's still no creativity, even when Andrew Thomas is on the field. It's really, really frustrating. And I honestly am like, I don't really know what to expect out of Jaxson Dart. I don't think that putting him in against a Chargers team who has a top 10 defense in every area of the defense, they're number 1 in the red zone. And we are number 32 in the red zone. And I think that there's going to be an opportunity there for Jaxson Dart to make plays. I absolutely think that. I think we're going to see more Andrew Thomas, which is going to be great. The thing is, like, it's a copycat league, and the Chargers are going to do the smart thing, and they're going to watch the film on what the Chiefs did, and they're going to say, we're going to do the exact same thing. And we're going to have 2 safeties, and we're going to make sure that if they can't feed Malik Neighbors, that this offense doesn't work. And I have no reason to believe that Jaxson Dart is going to come in here and fix this offense. So until I see it with my own eyes, I'll be happy about it and I'll be excited, but this team has worn me down so badly that I'm like at the point where I'm just so disappointed and disgruntled because I can't even be excited about Jaxson Dart because we're playing the 3-0 Chargers who are probably going to whoop our ass regardless of who the quarterback is. And then I'm like, even if Jaxson Dart does well and we win some games, that's great. And then we're stuck with Brian Daboll, who's still not a good head coach. So I'm kind of just like, this is why I wanted them all fired last year. I don't want to have to do this whole rigmarole bullshit again. And I know I'm being such a negative Nancy, so I'll end it on a couple like positive notes, but I'm so down in the dumps with this goddamn team right now. But I thought Andrew Thomas did a great job. I think Jermaine Illuminor is fantastic. I think they need to re-sign him immediately. I hope that if those two guys are the tackles of the future, that they work Marcus Bowe back to guard. So at least we have 3 out of 5 offensive linemen coming back next year. That could be a really good start for us. Kayvon Thibodeau is playing unbelievably. And I think this week going against a former teammate of his in Justin Herbert, I think that's kind of going to bring another element to his game. I think he's going to have a great game. Him, Brian Birds, and Abdul Carter are the best. It's super fun to watch them. I even think that having Abdul at middle linebacker was not that bad. I think he did a great job helping stop the run. Obviously there were a lot of bad things that came out of this game. They lost to the Chiefs in a game that they could have won. The Chiefs, I think, did so much to try and get the Giants to win it. And the Giants blew it. They shot themselves in the foot like they seem to do every week. So, but I think there are things to be excited about. Scadaboo's amazing. I hope that they can get the ball to Neighbors this week. And Dexter Lawrence, I think, is this close to being back to the Dexter we know and love. So I feel really happy about that too. So there's some good things,
Absolutely. Real quick, just want to say this portion of the show is brought to you by SeatGeek. So if you guys want to get some tickets and you want to go see Jaxson Dart play this week, well, go to SeatGeek, get your tickets for the Chargers game, which initially I was going to go to, but we're going to San Fran instead. Make sure you use the promo code Giants Collective 10 to get 10% off your purchase at SeatGeek. Go watch Jaxson Dart, support him. Maybe we can get a win. You're right, Adrian. It is mentally exhausting being a Giants fan. Anthony looks mentally worn out already, and now we're going to wear him out some more. Anthony, give us your thoughts on the Chiefs game. Give us your thoughts on Jaxson Dart against the Chargers.
The Chiefs game was pretty ugly, and Russell Wilson didn't play good football by any means, but I still feel like the quarterback was the least of the problems for the New York Giants offensively in that game. Marcus Bowe, we really liked him in week 2 versus Dallas. He definitely struggled in this game versus the Chiefs. He let up 7 pressures, 5 quarterback hits, and a sack. It's really tough. Like Chris said, the argument for not putting Dart in there was, well, you're just going to get him beat up by the offensive tackle every single play, right? That happened to Russ in week 1, and then he started dropping his eyes, bailing on clean pockets and throwing errant throws. Happened again in week 3, and that was the same result. So I just think there is a clear and obvious issue still on the offensive line. I know Andrew Thomas is going to be back for this upcoming game. He played the first half in week 3. That was great, but I really don't think that it was all that beneficial to put him out there for half of a game, maybe for him to ramp up, but it hurt the offense to take him out after those 28 snaps that he was in there. Once Marcus Bowe went in, Marcus Bowe clearly wasn't comfortable being thrown in the middle of a game like that, and he didn't take to it well, and he really struggled, and as a result, Russell Wilson and the rest of the offense struggled as well. So the Giants still need to fix the offensive line. They still need to fix the play calling. What we saw in the red zone was an absolute disaster class out of Mike Kafka. I've never seen anything quite like that. They run up to the 5-yard line, and they run all out routes from 5 yards. Everybody just ran up to the goal line and then out. That was a Jason Garrett special. I posted it on Twitter. You could kill the man, but not the idea. Jason Garrett, Brian Daboll, same shit. There's no difference. It's still the same awful offense that we see. And I don't know how that continues to happen for the New York Giants. They switch regime, they switch coaching staff, and still this offense finds a way to just be the same mundane, broken garbage that we've seen in years past. So I don't think that Russell Wilson was the biggest problem that the New York Giants had. That being said, I'm happy that they're making the change to Jaxson Dart. I think that Jaxson Dart brings things to this offense that Russell Wilson can't. Jaxson Dart is far more mobile. Jaxson Dart, I think, has unlimited confidence, and I think that he can throw over the middle of the field a lot more efficiently than Russell Wilson can. And I think that we saw a few times over the last couple of weeks when Jaxson Dart would go into the lineup for those zone reads. Whenever he would do those, the Giants would find some running room for the running backs because Jaxson Dart faking the handoff and then running one way, pulls a linebacker out of space and opens up a hole for Cam Scadaboo up the middle. We saw that happen several times. And we even saw this past week, they ran those zone reads twice with Jaxson Dart. Then on the third play, they put Russell Wilson back in. They had him run the zone read, and it went absolutely nowhere. So it kind of highlighted exactly what Jaxson Dart's able to bring to this offense just by being in the lineup in a way that Russell Wilson he just can't add that to the offense. So I do think that this is an unfair situation, though. It's unfair to Russell Wilson because, again, he was the least of the Giants' problems. He was the consummate professional. He brought new energy all summer, and he went out there and tried his best for sure. And trying isn't everything in the NFL. You have to produce results, but it just is unfair to him that this is the way it shaped out for him 3 weeks in, and they're already pulling the plug on him. But it's also unfair to Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart being thrown in 3 weeks into the season, fourth week of the season technically, against maybe the best defense in football. And he's not even going in there, and this is what I take such an issue with, and this is why last week I advocated for him starting in week 3. He's not even going in there to save the season. He's just going in there to save Brian Dable's job. At 0-3, what is it? 5 teams that have ever gone 0-3 since the expansion of the playoffs. 5 of them have made it to the playoffs after starting 0-3. So it's like a less than 10% chance of the New York Giants making it to the postseason right now. For those of us who've watched this team, we know that it's a 0% chance. Let's be real about it. But had he gone in at 0-2, well, your number is closer to 40% chance. So now he's going in there again, not with an opportunity to turn the season around, stack some wins, and fight for a playoff spot. It's already a lost season, and they're only putting him in there to try and make themselves look good. Brian Dable's only putting him in the lineup to try and make himself look good. And so I think the whole situation is just, again, like I said, unfair to Russ, very unfair to Jaxson Dart. Even if he goes out there and he looks like a star, it's all just in service of Brian Dable trying to extend his job. Even if he does look like a star, the Giants aren't making the playoffs now. And we're going to say, why wasn't he in there week 1? It sounds like the locker room, it sounds like the coaching staff knew that he was ready to play. So if he is such a star, why wasn't he in there week 1? Why did we just waste our season handing things to Russell Wilson for 3 weeks? So again, I think the whole situation is unfair. I think it's an ugly way for this to happen, but it doesn't shock me. And I think it is a necessary change. Jobs are on the line. I know this is absolutely pissed off beyond belief. I saw there was a group of fans on Instagram yesterday getting some money together to fly a plane over MetLife on Sunday afternoon. So expect to see a banner waving overhead asking for John Mara to clean house again. It's just a sad state of affairs now. 3 weeks in, and we're already at this point where we're benching Russell Wilson, a future Hall of Famer, to throw in a rookie who they traded up to draft at the end of the first round, who many people didn't even view as a first-round prospect. It's just a desperation move from the coaching staff, a desperation move from the front office. I do think it's the right move, and I'm excited to see Jaxson Dart, and I think he's going to be special. Everybody knows I'm a huge Jaxson Dart fan. I was all the way back in January. I was proclaiming my affinity for him. But again, I just think it's an unfair situation and still just a desperate, sad state of affairs for the New York Giants.
Chris, you and I did the game together.
Yeah.
It was rough. Give us your thoughts about the game against the Chiefs and about Jaxson Dart going forward.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm not surprised that this came down the way that it did. Going into the start of the year, I think we were all in agreement that in an ideal scenario, it would have been good to get to the bye and have Russell Wilson play well and give Jaxson Dart almost a full year to be able to learn underneath the veteran starter. But things don't always go as planned. They didn't go as planned when Daniel Jones' rookie year either, when the offense looked stagnant with Eli Manning and they pulled the cord really quick after 2 games. Very similar here. They pulled it after 3, going into what you could certainly argue is the hardest part of our schedule. The Chargers, like Anthony said, one of the better defenses in the league. Then you get one very winnable game against the Saints before you play the Eagles 2 out of 3, sandwiched between the Mile High Stadium against the Denver Broncos, who have a very good defense. So Jaxson Dart will be put to the test right away, and I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm not surprised with the move. And yeah, I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Dable and Chain feel like there's pressure now at this point. Like they have to do something to try to prolong their jobs. And we all knew going into the year that Jaxson Dart was going to be the main deciding factor whether or not they kept their jobs. In terms of the game, one thing I wanted to bring up that was not mentioned so far, first off, it played out exactly how I thought it would in terms of overall. I said going into the game, I think it's going to be a complete reversal of the last week where the defense would look like it got a lot better and the offense would take a huge step back. That's exactly what happened for the most part. The defense played pretty well. However, so many missed opportunities in that game by the defense. Bobby Okereke, that changed the whole game. Bobby Okereke picks up the ball on like the 5-yard line, and he allows Pat Mahomes to rip the ball out of his hand. That changed the entirety of the game, and that's why the Giants lose football games, because of stupid shit like that. And then you've got like we talked about, Baddog, during the game, the penalty on the pass interference right before the half, when I think it was Abdul Carter that had an opportunity to wrap him up for the sack, and he throws the ball. I'm sorry, Baddog?
No, you're right.
Yeah. And then he throws the ball when the Chiefs have no timeouts with like 8 seconds left. If you're Drew Phillips, let him catch the ball and tackle him and bounce, and the half is over. And then Drew Phillips commits a pass interference penalty. You give him points there before the half. Little shit like that. The dropped interception by Drew. I think it might have been Newman or Phillips.
Debo twice.
Yeah, Debo rather, where the ball was right in his hands. So, the defense I thought played a lot better, which I expected going up against a struggling Chiefs offense. It still left a lot to be desired. And if they came up with even one or two of those plays, as bad as Russ played and as bad as the offensive line played after Andrew Thomas left that game, at least in my opinion, there was a lot of people on Twitter defending the offensive line. So I felt I liked that Anthony came out and said that he didn't think the offensive line played well, because a lot of people were saying that they played terrific. I thought they played very well for the most part. Well, Thomas was in the game, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how good Thomas looked after not playing for almost a year. I thought it was an incredible performance by Andrew Thomas, but when Bo got inserted to the game for the last half of that game, he got bullied start to finish, and then you started to see the leaks in the interior offensive line, much like we saw week 1 when Andrew Thomas wasn't in the lineup. I thought that the interior got bullied as the course of that game wore along. I slightly disagree with Anthony. I think Andrew Thomas, as bad as the line was, this was Russell Wilson's worst performance, and I thought he was really bad. The play calling continues to be a major problem in the red zone, though. I'm not going to put that all on Russell Wilson. The play calling was horrific. We've scored a touchdown on 20% of our red zone trips this year. We ranked 31st in the league, I believe, in that department. The only team below us, I forgot who it was, but they're at 0%. That's the only reason why we're not dead last. And that goes to the play calling. Like, some of that certainly has to fall on Kafka and Dable, and they're supposed to be offensive masterminds. And at this point, Baddog, like I said on Twitter today with Brian Dable, he's showing all his cards at this point. There's nowhere else to run. You got your quarterback inserted in there now. There is no excuses going forward. I recognize that this is a hard part of the schedule. Rookie quarterback. I do expect growing pains, but this quarterback has to show a ton throughout the course of this year in terms of promise and something that we believe we could build with if Dable and Shane expect to keep their jobs. And it starts week 4 this week against one of the better defenses in the league. So you know how I feel about the Chargers. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl before the year started. They're 3-0. I think they're a tremendous football team. I think Dart will likely struggle this week. And then next week, hopefully, he bounces back against a weaker opponent with the New Orleans Saints. But growing pains, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to grow from it. So we'll see some good, but I'm sure we'll see a lot of bad this week from Dart as well.
Yeah. Boy, I have a lot to unwrap here. But if you're enjoying the show, guys, girls, do me a favor. Do us a favor. Hit the thumbs up. It helps. We're almost at 5,700 subscribers. I think we came in 11 away. So make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, share the show out with your buddies, your friends, or whatever. Let them know about Giants Collective. I'm going to start with 2 good things. Andrew Thomas was great. Cam Scatterbo was a man. Yeah, I love Cam. Cam Scatterbo is RB1. That guy brings a ton of energy, a ton of fight, a ton of toughness. I love watching him play. He's a throwback. The guy's just a football player. Dude looks for contact, destroyed one of the linemen on a chip block, killed the frickin' cornerback with his helmet. I love him. I'm buying a jersey. Those are the 2 good things. I love Russ. He was bad. I agree with Anthony. Completely unfair to Russell Wilson. You brought him in here to play most of the year. He got 3 weeks. It's a bad offensive line. It's bad play calling. It's bad coaching. It's bad everything. Daniel Jones goes to Indy. He looks like Peyton Manning. Russell Wilson comes here. He looks like Daniel Jones. It's not the quarterback. Leak said it last year. It's not the quarterback. God ask Dave about that, man. God ask Dave about that. Not the quarterback, man. Not the quarterback. Malik Neighbors saw it. It was rookie year. It's not the quarterback. I'm going to go to that sequence at the end of the game. We are down 2 touchdowns because, again, Gano gets hurt. We don't have a kicker. We have Younghoe Koo now. But Graham Gano has needed surgery on his knee for who knows how long, and he gets hurt. Of course, no kicker. We saw Gillen try. He kicked the ball right into a lineman's face mask, which was hilarious. It's just funny. So obviously, we can't kick field goals. You need 2 touchdowns. We're in midfield. We run the ball. Don't understand why, but that's what we did. We get to the 35, we run the ball again. Don't understand why, but that's what we did. Get the ball down to the 4. Ball down to the 4. This is where shit falls apart. This is where the coaching is terrible. It's just a terrible unit. Like Anthony said, you run 4 out routes or 4 curls. There's 4 receivers all lined up at the goal line. No fades, no leak out by the running back, no quick slant. They're all just standing there. Where's Russ supposed to go with that ball? Now, Russ needs to not throw it out of the end zone and get a penalty. He should know better. But where's he going? That play has no chance. So they're back at the 14. And this is the time they decide, well, you know what would be a really good idea? Let's run a quarterback draw with Russell Wilson from the 14. What the hell is that? And then they run these little stick patterns where everybody's double covered in the end zone. Again, nobody's leaking out of the backfield. There's no quick slant. There's no screen. There's no nothing. He has no shot. And Russ didn't play well. He was desperate. He forced it. You know, it's almost like he knew his job was on the line. So he made uncharacteristic errors. That's not like Russell Wilson. One thing we commended him about was how professional he is. He takes care of the football. He didn't take care of the football. Yeah. And Chris, to your point, the difference between winning and losing are those little plays. The Chiefs made those interceptions. You know, Pat Mahomes took that ball away from O'Carroll. We hit the ball at the 4-yard line. We can run Scatterboo 4 times to get in there because Scatterboo was able to run the ball most of the night because the Chiefs are playing a lot of nickel. They didn't want to get beat over the top. So they were playing 2 high safeties, and that allows you to run the football. So they took advantage of it a little bit. The first drive, we saw them do this a lot where they ran the football. But they made the plays. We don't make the plays ever. We still can't tackle. There was one penalty on us that absolutely killed us, and they called illegal contact. It was obvious that the guard took 2 steps backwards before the ball was snapped. They didn't call a false start, and that led to the pass interference that led to the field goal. So
I completely forgot about that play until you just brought it up there, Doug. That was ridiculous. I think it was the tackle, right? I thought it was the right tackle, but regardless,
they did it twice where it was egregious that they started early, and I'm like, come on, man, it's terrible. So again, Jaxson Dart, this is it for Brian Daboll. He's going down swinging. Russell Wilson was his last body to throw in front of the bus. That was it. He brought in Russ here, and that's the way I look at it. He brought in Russ to say, if we get off to a bad start, because Anthony, you said, why don't we start Jaxson Dart? People are going to say, why don't we start Jaxson Dart? And it's a great question if you're going to start on week 4. Why didn't you just start him? But it's because this was an insurance policy. This was a little buffer for Brian Daboll to say, shit, if we get off to a bad start, I can blame the quarterback again, like I did Daniel Jones all those years. I'm going to take Russ, throw him in front of the bus. Well, there's no more bodies there now. You're tied at the hip to Jaxson Dart. If Jaxson Dart comes out and he stinks and you're losing games, you're getting run over by that bus. And if that happens, here we go again, Giants fans. It's rinse, repeat. We're getting rid of Daboll. We're getting rid of Shane. We're getting rid of the OCs. We're getting rid of that quarterback, and we're starting a rebuild all over again. This shit better work. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Brian Daboll is a very desperate coach. 2022 is long ago. He won 9 games in 2022. He's won 9 cents. This team is a complete disaster, and Brian Daboll has blamed everybody but himself, and this is why we're in this situation. There's nobody else to blame. This is it. This is it. This is your lifeline. If that life preserver sinks, you're going down with it. So it better work. Jaxson Dart, I wish him the best. It's going to make it very interesting. I hope he kills it. I hope he looks good. I want to win some football games. I want some positivity here. And again, I hate that they're bringing him here, not to win football games per se, but to try to save their jobs because they feel even if they lose some games in a tough schedule and he plays well, shit, you know what? We're going to save our job because Jaxson Dart looked really good. So, man, this team's a mess right now. And like I said, no pressure, Jaxson Dart. You just have to save everything about the New York Giants franchise. You got to save jobs. You got to save the franchise. You got to save yourself, kid. No pressure, none at all. But to Darius Slayton's point on Twitter, we can't kill him if he doesn't play well. He's a rookie. You're going against one of the better defenses in the league. You're going against one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game in Jim Harbaugh. This is no easy task. This is not a soft spot in the schedule. You would have loved to have seen him play against New Orleans. That's how desperate they are, that they want to get him in there to play against, a really good Chargers team. So I don't know. The next topic there is Malik Neighbors. Obviously, Neighbors got like no targets in the first half.
Ridiculous.
Anthony, can you explain why he wasn't getting targets? Was it because the Kansas City Chiefs took him out of the game? Because Russ couldn't locate him, or was he just not schemed into the play call? Because no matter what, you feel like you should be throwing to your best player and trying something over there. But they didn't look for him at all in the first half.
It was a combination of all those things that you just mentioned. Number one, Kansas City did do a great job covering Malik Neighbors. They bracketed him constantly. They always had safety help over top, and they took away any presence of a deep threat in this game. And they did a great job with that. But then that also comes down to the limitations of Russell Wilson. They took away the deep threat. They double teamed Malik Neighbors, and that made it difficult for Russell Wilson to hit him on the boundary and hit him downfield, because that's really seems to be all that Russ is capable of doing right now, is throwing those deep shots. So then when he tried to take those deep shots, of course, the Chiefs were ready for it, sitting on it, and they picked him off a couple of times. But there were also other issues in this game plan for the New York Giants. Malik Neighbors, Adriana, you said it at the start of the show. Why can't he get a screen? It's not that hard to scheme him up for a screen pass, even if they do have safety help over top. How does that prevent you from throwing a screen, a jet sweep, anything, even a slant route to Malik Neighbors? There were plenty of opportunities that the Giants could have schemed him open. They didn't even give him a chance to get open. And then the third final piece, I mentioned Russell Wilson, and his inability to hit those intermediate portion throws and really only looking for Malik Neighbors deep. I saw some crazy statistic that 90% or higher of Malik Neighbors' receptions so far this season have been outside of the numbers. So all on the sideline, all on the boundary. And when you think back to the receptions that he's made this season, that's probably an accurate statistic. He hasn't done any of his work over the middle of the field. And that really does highlight, again, the limitations of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a shorter quarterback. He doesn't deal well when there's pressure right in his face. The interior of the Giants offensive line absolutely sucks. So it makes it difficult for him to see over the middle and get the ball to his playmakers like Malik Neighbors. I bet you Neighbors is running at least some routes over the middle of the field, but Russ is not seeing him. And I do think that's where Jaxson Dart can help. And I think that's where he can make a difference. Jaxson Dart does throw over the middle of the field well. He did it Ole Miss. Statistically, especially if you're looking at it from the 10-plus range, he was 41 of 54 with an 8-to-1 TD to INT and a 149 NFL passer rating when throwing over the intermediate middle of the field last year. That's a huge difference compared to what we're getting out of Russell Wilson right now. So I think that it's going to make a major difference now having a different quarterback back there who's comfortable throwing across the middle of the field. And I think now Malik Neighbors will hopefully start to get some targets other than just deep go routes down the sideline, because the way that they've been using him, I mean, they've been giving him Darius Slayton's route tree from the last 3 seasons. I don't know what that's all about. Neighbors is a far more prolific route runner than anyone else on this team. He should be getting his targets all over the field, and he should definitely have schemed together plays to get him screens or drag routes, whatever, mismatch him in some way. So a lot went wrong for the Giants and Malik Neighbors. It's not Neighbors' fault at all, but I do think that's going to change now with a different quarterback who has some comfort throwing over the middle and who has the quick passing ability to throw those screens out to Malik Neighbors in this upcoming game.
Chris, why did Neighbors not get targeted as much as he should have?
We got outcoached. As simple as that. Steve Spagnuolo had obviously a great defensive game plan, and Mike Kafka couldn't adjust. And it wasn't just Neighbors, by the way. I don't think Wandale had a catch in the first half. I don't think Theo Johnson had a catch in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. They completely took out our aerial assault entirely. For the most part, from what I recall, the only guys who really made any catches early on, specifically in the first half, were the run. They threw a couple of passes to the running backs. I think Slayton made a couple of catches early on. But other than that, they took away our entire offense. And the fact that Kafka has arguably the most talented wide receiver in the league, the fact that he couldn't come up with any adjustment to find a way to get him the ball is ridiculous. So we were severely outcoached. It's really as simple as that, I think. I think that's the easiest explanation. The offensive line was playing decent when Andrew Thomas was in there, so really no excuses there. There should have been enough time to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. Spagnuolo obviously came out with a great defensive game plan, and our coaches, at least in the first half, were unable to adjust to even give him or really any of the receivers much of an opportunity. I commend the Giants for coming out to try to run the ball, which is what they did early on, and they were actually able to do that fairly successfully, and I thought they were going to have to do that to be able to stay in that football game. But to not give Neighbors a catch in the entire first half, and I think he only had 2 targets, pretty ridiculous. So severely outcoached. Simple as that. Steve Spagnuolo, arguably the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the greatest defensive coordinators in the history of the NFL. We know that as Giants fans. Destroyed Mike Kafka.
Adriana, what do you think? Why didn't Neighbors get any targets at all?
I don't know. I think they used the excuse is that, he was double covered or whatever, but this isn't the first time that this has happened with Neighbors, so much so that he was asked about it after a game last year and said, I don't know, why don't you ask the coach? So it's not the first time that we've seen this. It's concerning that it's week 3 and they can't figure out how to scheme their best wide receiver. And like we talked about before, if Dable is supposedly this offensive genius and you have Andrew Thomas out there, the offensive line was good in the first half. I just don't think there is any excuse for you to not get the ball in Neighbors' hands. It doesn't always have to be a post. It doesn't always have to be a deep throw down the field. Neighbors can be used in a million different ways. And the fact that they can't figure out how to utilize him in any other way is crazy to me. We've all talked about the similarities between him and OBJ and how we all remember when they would throw a 3-yard slant to OBJ and he would take it to the house. The fact that when they had Andrew Thomas in this offensive line, I know they still struggled with the run blocking, and Russ was having issues. It was either a check down or a bomb down the field, but give him the option to do something different. Throw a screen pass to Neighbors instead of Wandale. Like, I just think it's absurd that they couldn't figure out any other way to get Neighbors the ball. And we heard, Dable said in the post game, like they were having all these conversations on the sidelines about trying to make adjustments and figure out what to do. And I'm like, and like, you still couldn't make any changes. Like, you're doing this on the sidelines. You're doing this during halftime and literally nothing changed. Like, I don't get it. Like, you knew what you were getting into with Spags. You watched what they did against the Eagles. You've watched this film before. Like, it's week 3. It's not week 1. You had an opportunity to watch 2 weeks at least of film going into this game. So I don't know. It's just very frustrating that your best player, and they didn't even target him, right? Like, if he's double covered, give him a chance to make a play. That's what we all love about Malik Neighbors, is that he can make contested catches. The guy's a freak athlete. Like, if there's anyone on this team that you trust to make a play on the ball, it's Malik Neighbors, even in double coverage. The fact that they didn't attempt it just once is crazy.
I was baffled. I can't believe that 3 weeks into the season, you can't figure out a way to get Malik Neighbors the ball. You can't scheme something, a bubble screen. I mean, a bubble screen's about as easy as it gets. Now, granted, we watch the screens and we saw Van Roten about 8 steps behind, which screens get blown up, but still, you got to try. You got to try to get the ball, especially when your offense is struggling. You got to try to get the ball to your playmakers in space, whether that's a bubble screen, whether it's a quick slant in the middle, where you just get rid of the ball. It's a quick 3-step drop and bam, you catch it in front of the defender. You got to find something, an end around, a flea flip. I mean, anything. Just try to get him the ball in space. Do something creative, because obviously what you're doing is not working. And these guys continue to not think outside of the box. And their offense continues to struggle because of it. The most creative thing they've come up with, which we all loved, was the pass to Marcus Ball. That was the most creative thing we've seen in the red zone. There's no creativity. There's nothing here. We haven't seen any trick plays. We haven't seen one reverse, one end around, one flea flicker, nothing. They do nothing. They just line up and they just go. It's very mundane and boring, and it's easy to defend. And when you don't have a great offensive line and you really only have got that one guy in Neighbors that can get off the ball really quickly, and he's getting double teamed, well, then you got to look for other guys. You got to find a way. How about some pre-snap motion where you pick a couple of guys and get them free? How about you line up trips and try to get, the defense moving before the snap so that Neighbors gets a free release and you get him the ball, anything. But they don't. They don't know how to do it. And this is why it doesn't really matter to me if Jaxson plays or not. I'm down on the coaching staff. I for 3 years, I defended these guys. But it's obvious, man. It's Brian Dable. And this is not something I want to get into on this show, but this is why I tweeted this out. People like, you're just forming engagement, which I've never understood. When you're on social media, the whole point of social media is to have people respond to your comments or whatever, your videos. Like, that's what we do. That's why you post it, so people can give you their idea. But it wasn't engagement forming. It was a fact. I was curious. Is this, if Dable and the coaching staff gets fired, would you keep Joe Schoen? Because supposedly there's talent on this team, but you're not seeing it because we've had talent and they go elsewhere and they succeed, but here they're not. So
I didn't see that you post that, Baddog, but my answer to that is no. I think
Well,
I think Joe Shane had his opportunity this offseason to peel himself away from Brian Dable, and he said, "No, I'm rolling with him." That was his decision at this point. And I think if the team fails, they're both out of here.
Well, I mean, we'll see. But it was a legitimate question because
No, yeah, I agree.
This team does have talent, but
Yeah.
they're not winning football games. And every week we've talked about how bad the coaching is. Not so much how Abdul Carter stinks and Russ stinks and Scadaboo stinks. And we haven't really said these guys can't play. We're just like, why aren't they scheming in the open? Why can't they do this? Why are they terrible in the red zone? I mean, it's crazy. But we've reached the midway point. As always, want to give a big shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this portion of the show. Like I said, Jaxson starting this week. If you want to go watch him, go into the description, enter that promo code Giants Collective 10, get 10% off your Chargers Giants tickets to see the debut of Jaxson Dart. Let's hear from the sponsor. 80 seconds, and back after this are the questions. Right after this. What's going on, guys and gals? You looking for a fun activity? You want to get out of the house? You need something to do? Are you looking for a great gift idea? Well, if so, look no farther than the sponsor of Giants Collective, which is SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Giants season is underway. And say you want to check out Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium? Well, it's easy. Just go to SeatGeek, scroll around, look for the tickets that you want, and SeatGeek's going to have your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. That's good. The red dots, well, it's not so good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use the code Giants Collective for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code Giants Collective. Make sure you click that link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring Giants Collective, and let's go Giants! Right, let's go Giants indeed. Let's go Giants indeed. I know where we're going. Going right to hell. But yes. So thank you, SeatGeek. Of course, this portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Sleeper. Go check out Sleeper, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun app. It's a fast-growing app. In sports right now, it's just pretty much picking over under. You can do your entries in 30 seconds. You can do daily fantasy football, college football, college basketball, Major League Baseball, WNBA, all kinds of good stuff. If you have injuries, they can be voided. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. And, of course, you get a great promo. Just use that promo code HMA. Get a 100% match deposit bonus all the way up to $100 in your first deposit. So check it out. Win some money. Test your football knowledge. And have a lot of fun with Sleeper. Lord knows I have. Thanks a lot, Kafka, because Chris knows I had Russ under 223, one. Had Pacheco over 39. That was cake. And then I had Malik Neighbors having an anytime touchdown. And, well, Kafka. Pharaoh. Thank you, brother. Who has drafted better players, Gettleman or Shane? KT and Saquon Barkley have a ring. Ingram, Shepard, DJ, McKinney are all doing their thing. Why did we claim Gibson? Just release him. Do we try to get CJ Gardner? What was the deal with the...
Now, first off, Farrell, he didn't draft Ingram or Shepard. Those were Reese guys. And it's too early to completely judge Shane's draft classes yet, right? We've had 6 or 7 years to evaluate Gettleman's draft classes. But as of today, it's not even close who has the better draft classes. You go back, and not that I'm saying Gettleman was great. He was not. He was a bad GM. He needed to be replaced. But look at some of the players he drafted. Andrew Thomas, one of the best left tackles in the league when he's healthy. Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best interior defensive lineman when he's on the field. Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in football. Xavier McKinney, arguably one of the best safeties in football. Darius Slayton, a very good 5th-round pick. Julian Love in the 3rd round, very good NFL safety. BJ Hill, who we had to trade because he was an idiot for Billy Price, but regardless, very good draft pick in the 3rd round. You could point to several Dave Gettleman draft picks that were influential in the NFL. You look at Joe Shane, can't point to a lot. Obviously, Malik Neighbors has been terrific. There's some guys that have shown promise. And again, it's way too early. But as of today, if you're judging the draft classes, Gettleman gets the edge.
I think what's also frustrating to me is that we've seen so many players come through the Giants building in the last 3 years since these guys have taken over. And some of them who have gone to other teams like Ben Bredesen and Ashawn Robinson, who they didn't draft, but they brought into the team, have still gone elsewhere and have been better, even someone like Tyree Phillips. So to me, it just feels like the coaching is such a big problem, more so than the talent. I think that this football team that we have right now is probably the most talented one on paper that we've had since Joe Shane has been here. And even since probably a couple years before that I just think the biggest thing is the coaching is not taking them to the next level. Like the 2024 draft class did so well last year. And then this year, Drew Phillips is getting a bunch of DPIs seemingly out of nowhere. Tyler Nubin is missing tackles left and right, which he never did. Theo Johnson dropping balls. None of these guys, Jalen Hyatt is not even playing. Like the guys are not taking it to the next level in year 2, which is what they should be doing. If I think you have a good coaching staff, I don't think all of those guys are useless and don't have any talent. I think some of them are great football players. I think Drew Phillips makes a lot of really good plays, and Tyler Nubin was good last year before he got injured too. So it's so frustrating to me. Like, I don't think that every draft pick that Joe Shane has picked has been a bust. I just think so many of them, especially for as young as they are, should be taking it to the next level every year. And it feels like they're not. Yeah. I don't know what's happening there.
And I see somebody said I should have mentioned Daniel Jones. I wasn't trying to get more depressed after the start he's gotten off to. I didn't mention him. We'll see how he does with the Colts. It's only been 3 games, but that pick's looking better at least for Dave Gettleman right now. But yes, Daniel Jones as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just amazing no matter who you've picked. It's been the same song and dance here. The Giants just don't win football games, which to me speaks to coaching. And again, I'm so down on Dable that I've actually said I believe he's worse than Joe Judge. Joe Judge did not have Malik Neighbors. Joe Judge did not have Brian Burns. Joe Judge did not have Abdul Carter. He had none of that stuff here. He had in his first year, Barkley tore his ACL halfway through the second game. He didn't even have Barkley his first year there. So I don't know. Dable obviously I think got a longer leash because they did win a playoff game, but very down on him. Very, very, very down on the coaching staff. I feel like they're the ones hindering these players. I feel like these players have a lot of talent, and I don't think they're coached up to succeed. I just don't. I feel like they don't work around their strengths. I feel like these guys have a game plan, and that's just their game plan, and they won't shift off of it, no matter how ineffective it is. I think Brian Dable's very stubborn. And I think it shows.
And we talked about that with Wink too, because you look at guys like Banks and Kayvon, who were fantastic with Wink here. And it's just like, imagine if he had Jaxson, Burns, and Kayvon, and Abdul Carter, and he had all this money spent on the secondary and like all of these other things. It's so frustrating. Like they finally played a lot more man coverage, and Tay Banks looked okay out there, but Tay Banks has regressed significantly since what we saw in year 1 of him. And Kayvon Thibodeau has gone from being great in year 1 or year 2, whatever it was under Wink that he had the 11.5 sacks, to it's taken him until now to show again that he has a lot of talent and he's capable of being a good football player. But where was that the last, year or 2? So, and the same thing with Cordell Flott is like, it's taken for year 4 to him to finally progress and be good. I just feel like so much of this needs to fall on the coaching staff and the fact that they are not helping develop these young players. And it's probably been going on for a lot longer than, Dave Gettleman and Joe Shane, but it's obviously a problem because it's statistically impossible for every draft pick that they bring in here to suck. And it's been proven that when they go everywhere else, they succeed. So something's not right.
Kayvon's actually off to a great start. Flying under the radar, but he's played really well. Carter Trout says, who do you think is most responsible for the current state of the team aside from ownership? I think
it's got to be.
Anthony, go ahead. Anthony's got something to say.
Well, it's definitely ownership, but I'm actually going to go with Brian Dable on this because as bad as Joe Shane's draft classes have been, one way or another, he has added some talent to this roster. We all really love Brian Burns and all the defensive players, and the defensive line is stacked. Malik Neighbors is great. There is actually some talent on this roster, and like we said, it's all going to waste. None of it's developing, and a lot of it is leaving, going elsewhere, and having success. So when you look at that, I think you got to point the finger to Brian Dable, but then you also have to think about the fact that he got into that feud with Wink Martindale, and that's why he's no longer the coach. He had to save face and not fire Shane Bowen after last season because of his feud with Wink Martindale. He handed the play calling to Kafka, then he took it away from him, then he gave it back to him, and now that's not working. So I think when you're really looking at the current state of this team, why they're 0-3, I think it actually falls on the head coach even more so than it does the general manager. And I think everybody knows I'm not a huge Joe Shane fan. I think that the contract that he handed to Daniel Jones and the decision to let Saquon Barkley walk in that same offseason, that all really blew back in his face, came back to really hurt this team. So I'm not a big fan of either of these guys, which is why I wanted them gone this past offseason. But if I'm looking at it from this standpoint, I think that Joe Shane got his act together this offseason, added a lot of talent, gave Brian Dable what should have been a competitive roster, and he's done absolutely nothing with it. So I'll point to Brian Dable and say that he's the biggest problem for the New York Giants right now, aside from ownership.
It depends how you look at it. I agree with Anthony. If you're just looking at this 3-game sample size and this year specifically, it falls more on Dable. Now, to be fair, we haven't seen Dart yet, which we're finally going to get to see this week. And maybe the team looks a lot better and we feel a lot differently about Dable and Shane, and the roster looks a lot better if they get a quarterback in there. Wishful thinking on my part. I'm not expecting that. But I think if you're looking at it over the collective of the amount of 4 years that they've been here together, I think you could certainly argue it falls more on Shane. When Shane took this job, much like when Dave Gettleman took the job, the offensive line was a freaking mess. The offensive line is still a freaking mess. And you look at the offensive line, he inherited Andrew Thomas at least. Dave Gettleman didn't even have him. He had to draft him. He inherited Andrew Thomas. And you look at this line, 4 years. What do you have to show for it? Illuminor is pretty good. Good free agent signing. Hopefully we keep him long term. Bo has shown some promise, and I still think he could be good, but that's a question at this point. There's nobody you look at on this line right now, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a building block long term. JMS, not very good. John Runyon, who we spent a lot of money on, not very good. We have no answers on the interior on the offensive line. And Illuminor, we don't even know if he's going to be here past this year. Hopefully he is. He's playing really well through the first 3 weeks. So the main problem with this team, in my opinion, is still the offensive line. Shane has had 4 years to improve that. It's still not very good.
Don't forget, Chris, he drafted Evan Neal 7th overall, and he's inactive every week. So there's
I didn't even want to think about Evan Neal, but you're absolutely right. The biggest miss he's been.
But I put it on Twitter, and I think this is true. Neal and Hyatt will go somewhere else, and they'll be good.
Yeah, I think Neal will probably be fine elsewhere. How about Tyler Booker? Same thing, a tackle coming out of Alabama. He's great in his first few games with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm really down on Dable. Down on Dable.
Same.
Age 50. Thank you. I know it's early. Who we get as head coach next year? McCarthy, Kingsbury, Flores, Gruden, Belichick, Rex Ryan, someone else. All those are null and void except for Kingsbury. Belichick's old. Ryan, no. Gruden's been out of the game forever. Flores definitely ain't coming here.
Flores is literally suing the Giants for racism. Right. I don't know why everyone is forgetting this. The amount of times that people talk about Brian Flores.
And I love Brian Flores,
but
it's pie in the sky.
Before he came here.
Yeah, that's not happening because
I don't even want to think about this because I have to see Dart before I could say we're definitely moving on from the head coach. So I don't even want to think about it yet. But here's what I'm going to say. If we do move on from the head coach, I don't want an offensive coordinator. I don't want a special teams coordinator. You got to do something different. I want a freaking head coach. I want a guy that's done it before, a guy with credentials. My dream guy right now at this point, my dream guy in 2020 was Harbaugh. It didn't happen. Dream guy at this point in terms of a guy that could potentially be available if things teeter off in Pittsburgh this year is Mike Tomlin. If he becomes available, I feel like Pittsburgh's kind of they're almost at a breaking point like we were with Tom Coughlin, where they feel like as great of a coach he's been, it may be time for a change, something new. He potentially could become available. He checks all the boxes for me. A guy that's still relatively young, a guy that's still been coaching from within the league, a guy with proven, he's a proven commodity. He's a fantastic football coach. If he were to ever become available, that would be my dream candidate for the New York Giants next year.
I'd love that.
Your dream is going to be Mike McCarthy. Your reality is going to be, your dream is going to be Mike Tomlin. Your reality is going to be Mike McCarthy.
Ugh.
Oh, I don't like
Mike McCarthy. Honestly, though, I mean, listen, I wouldn't like that, but that seems like something that the Giants would do. It seems like something that ownership would say, we can bring him in and he can just kind of like reset things. He's a proven coach. He's won a Super Bowl. And even with Dallas, yes, it ran stale and he didn't have any playoff success. He had them perennially in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think that's the worst idea, but it's definitely
I just
not
don't like him. But you're right. He's not a bad candidate. You're right.
He's a good coach, that's for sure. But also, I want to ask you about something that you just mentioned there, Chris, saying you have to see how Dart plays before you make a determination on whether or not Dable is going to be here next year. I was kind of talking about this with Alex on Fireside Giants earlier today, and my take on it is Dable's been so bad the last few years. Even if Jaxson Dart goes out there, let's say he looks like a star. He looks really good. Wouldn't you have the confidence that he could look really good with a better coach? Like Brian Dable's a bad coach. I think we've
that's
fair,
Anthony. I'm not even speaking so much from the standpoint of what I would do, but my mindset is if Dart looks really good and the team wins 5 or 6 games, as I've said all along, I think he does keep his job, and I still feel that way. So that's why I'm saying I kind of got to see how Dart looks before I come to the conclusion that I think we're definitely going to be looking for our coach. That's all.
I get what you mean. I'll just say, though, from my perspective, like not what I think happens, but what I think should happen. I think it's going to be the same, or it should be the same as Pat Shurmur, because it's different. Pat Shurmur was in his 2nd season as a head coach. His rookie quarterback showed some promise, and he didn't even save his job, but he was only in his 2nd season. He probably should have gotten another year. Dable's in year 4. So I don't care if the rookie quarterback looks really good. If the rookie quarterback looks really good, then I want a really good coach to coach this really good rookie quarterback. The jury's out. Like I've already made my jury's not out. The jury's made its decision. I've made my decision on Brian Dable, and I'm over him. And I think that a better coach, even if Dart looks great throughout these rest few games, a better coach will get more out of him.
I do think you're setting Dart up for failure if you do that, though. But that doesn't mean he can't recover from it. If he's legit, he very well could. I just hate the idea of doing to Dart what we did to Daniel Jones. I hate that idea, but it may very well be reality at year's end.
We wouldn't be bringing in a special
frustrating.
Yeah.
But like we wouldn't be in this position if they didn't fucking keep Dable. It's so annoying to me, especially because I wanted Vrabel so badly this offseason. Like I'm the same way. Don't want a coordinator. If we're going through the whole thing again where we're blowing it up, give me someone who is a proven head coach, who has experience in the NFL, who's had success. That's what I would want. But I'm with you, Anthony, where I'm just like, I don't care if Jaxson Dart goes out there and wins us the next 14 games and we go to the playoffs. We've had 3 years, or at this point, 4 years of Dable, who has made some insanely mind-boggling, stupid-ass decisions. He makes the same mistakes over and over again. He's had 7 different quarterbacks that he has played in this offense, and he still struggles in the red zone. We still can't score a touchdown in week 1. Like, just because Jaxson Dart is good, great. Maybe he's a good quarterback coach. That, to me, does not equate to a good head coach. We have seen him with a million different players on this team over the last couple of years, and he has not proven that he's a good coach. And I think this is exactly what I'm afraid of, is that Dart is going to look good, and they're going to say, oh my God, Dable fixed it. All he needed was a quarterback, and now we're going to be stuck with Dable. And week 1 next year, maybe we'll score a touchdown, but we'll probably still have a bunch of penalties, a shitty offensive line. Our kicker might be injured. Like, it's just going to be the same shit, different day. And
I agree with a lot. I agree with a lot of what you said, but I also agree with what Rangers 11 Nation said. I would care if they won 14 games. If they won 14 games, I think I'd want Brian Dable back. But I agree. I know what you meant.
But
the last thing I'll say on it, though, just if you look around the league, all the top quarterbacks have had tons of offensive coordinator changes. Justin Herbert has had several OCs. He's fine. Josh Allen has had several OCs. He's still an MVP.
Jared Goff.
Jackson, Jared Goff. The best quarterbacks can get past that. The thing is, I don't think this is going to, if he looks great and they move on, I get the fear because we just saw it happen with Daniel Jones. You change the coach and then maybe it derails things. But Daniel Jones wasn't going to succeed with the Giants. I think we all agree with that. Like, that just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't the right environment for him. And they had so many problems at the time that he was drafted and for the 6 years that he was here. But with Jaxson Dart, if he looks legit, if you're pretty confident that he's going to be a star quarterback, you can probably trust a better coach to take over. So, and I think that's been the case for so many of the top quarterbacks around the NFL. Sometimes I look back on Brian Dable's time in Buffalo, and I think maybe Josh Allen was doing all that in spite of Brian Dable. Because keep in mind, it took 3 years before Josh Allen broke out and became a star under Brian Dable's tutelage. So I think that they could have been in spite of Dable, and I think that if Dart looks legit, you get him a legit coach to help him become
that may
a
be a
star.
scenario, Anthony. If that were to play out, what you would do if the team, say, won 6 games and Dart looked great, you're probably not firing Shane at that point because Shane drafted Dart. So that would kind of play into the scenario the Bad Dog said earlier, where you may very well keep Shane because you're not going to. I don't think it's a wise idea to force a quarterback on a fresh GM. You're probably keeping Shane at that point, and you're looking for a head coach. That likely.
Well, I wouldn't force him on a GM. If he looks legit, and we're moving on from Dable anyway, hopefully the new GM coming in also recognizes that he looks legit. If he looks good enough, you won't need to force him. You won't need to convince anybody. The GM will just say, yeah, he looks legit, and we'll go forward with him. But no, if it's me personally making the decisions, there's no way. If I'm kicking out Dable, I'm kicking out Shane too, and I'm also kicking out all of John Mayer's friends in the front office.
That's the big one, Anthony, is kick all of his friends out of the front office. That, to me, that's the thing that really holds this franchise back, is that what you just mentioned. That is the biggest problem, is the nepotism that goes on within this organization. They do a terrible job. You are not this bad. We are the worst team in football since 2017. We have had 4 head coaches, 3 GMs. I don't know how many quarterbacks, 10? How many coordinators, how many receivers, how many players? Results remain the same. And the constant is the front office. There's a problem there.
Yeah.
As far as head coach goes, give me Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, part of that has to do with my Sooner fandom, the fact he worked with Baker, the fact he worked with Kyler, the fact he worked with Jalen Hurts, the fact that he's working with Jaden Daniels as the OC. He's been a head coach. He's going to be able to get the most out of a quarterback. And he's been a head coach before, albeit in Arizona, where, Arizona wasn't very good, but that's Arizona. I like Cliff Kingsbury. He's a young guy. He's very intuitive. He's a creative guy. I feel like he'd be a good fit. But again, I understand if you fire head coach, you probably do want to move on from the GM as well. Yeah. But like I said, to me, there's kind of a scenario where I feel like Shane could keep his job and Dable is his.
I think that is that scenario that Anthony played out. It's at least that becomes at least possible. Yeah. But my mindset though is if Shane's stuck with Dable going into this year, where I think he had the opportunity to move on from him, he's probably going to stick with him again. If
not if it means his job.
Well, that's true. If Mara says you got to make a move, yeah, good point. Fair. Yeah.
Chislow, thank you, brother. If we lose to the Saints, we might actually go 0-17. We should. We lose to them.
Yeah. I mean, if we lose to the Saints, I mean, let's see if we beat the Chargers first, even though I'm not predicting that. But if we lose to the Saints, guys, you look at our next 3 games, I find it very hard to believe we're going to win any of those 3.
We ain't winning any of them.
And then the 49ers, they start to get healthier, but I don't. Yeah, things get bad real fast. So
we'll beat them. I'm going to that game. They have to win that one.
We'll see how Jaxson Dart looks next week, and then we'll reassess.
Jim, thank you, man. He says, silly me for being the optimist last show. Is this bad for Dart? Well, we were all kind of optimistic, but silly us for being fans. Is this bad for Dart? He looked great, but I don't want a DJ 2.0 scenario. Dable's got to go. You gals rock. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
I think that kind of ties in the conversation we were just having about, the confidence. But where I think Dart is different from Daniel Jones, I think Daniel Jones was met with so much scrutiny immediately when he was drafted. Number 6 overall, boos from the fans, immediately was like public enemy number 1. He had to earn a good reputation through the preseason, and then even still getting thrown into the fire in week 3, benching Eli Manning of all people and then stepping in. Eli Manning, listen, Russell Wilson might be a future Hall of Famer, but Eli Manning walks around New York City and Hoboken, New Jersey like he's a god, right? So it was a big difference, and I just don't think Daniel Jones, shy kid from North Carolina, had the confidence and the moxie to step into that. He played at Duke. He wasn't playing in the SEC like Jaxson Dart. He wasn't going up against LSU and going toe-to-toe with Jaden Daniels and fighting for big numbers in the SEC. And just the way that Jaxson Dart carries himself, the way that he was immediately welcomed and greeted by Giants fans on draft night, I think it's a totally different situation that's playing out here. And I think the level of confidence that Dart has compared to what Daniel Jones has, that's the separator. And I think that confidence is going to allow him to have more early success and hopefully not let the media and the fan base deter him from finding that success.
Yeah. It's like Darius Slayton mentioned, man, he's going to make mistakes. I mean, you can't sit there and boo the kid if he struggles to begin with. It's an adjustment period. Defenses in the NFL are much faster. Windows close much faster. They're much more complex. They disguise their schemes much better. Unless, I mean, if Jackson Dart was going against the Giants, it'd be easy because we don't disguise shit. We line up, and that's what we have. And these veterans like Mahomes and Dak go, oh, okay, that's what they're running. Now this is easy. But it is a much tougher game. It's much quicker. So you got to adjust to the speed. And I say it all the time. The best college teams probably have 3 NFL guys in their defense. The worst NFL teams have 11 NFL guys in their defense. It's just
not always. There were some years where the Giants didn't have 11 NFL guys on their defense.
No, I mean, we don't know we have 11 offensive players either. It's but he's not going against the Giants. I mean, that's the thing. Imp, he says there's not a coach of this team that could find his butt with both hands.
Feels that way right now. You know, it does. It does. I personally want to wait the full year to fully say I'm completely out on Dable, but I'm certainly in the camp. And I'm certainly in the camp with you guys right now that I'm 90% out on him, and I'm holding on by a thread that if Jax Dart looks incredible and this team turns it around, I may feel differently. But right now, yeah, I think we scrap it all at the end of the year.
Out. I have no confidence in Dable to get the best out of his players. None. Zero.
Oh, yeah, listen,
no confidence that he can get the best out of Jackson Dart. I think if Jackson Dart has a lot of talent, you get a better coach, he's going to be a better quarterback.
Fair. And you think about during the game, like, it blew my mind. And it shows you how much he's outmatched against some of these NFL coaches. The play where Reed brings the punt team on and Dable has to waste a timeout with 1:12 to go in the second half, in the third quarter, when you're down by essentially 2 touchdowns because you don't have a field goal kicker that you could trust. The fact that things like that, not a good look for Brian Dable. Like that can't happen. That can't happen.
Bird says we had Spags as their interim head coach. Why no consideration for head coach? I know he failed in St. Louis, but defense would have been awesome. I think at that point, he was just starting over.
Coach, I think he'd get an interview, guys. I think they'd bring him in for an interview if I had to guess.
They could, but I think with the Spags thing is that's when Gettleman came in, and Gettleman wanted to bring his own guys here. I think that's why we ended up with Honey Hamhead Betcher instead of Spagnuolo. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just what it was. They just cleaned house and everything else. Again, I want to give a big shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this portion of the show. They have a great promotion going. Like I said, use that promo code HMA. You can have a lot of fun in that. Test your football skill and knowledge. Went up to 1,000 times your bet. Entries take 30 seconds. They're as low as $1. And you can play daily fantasy, college football, college basketball, Major League Baseball, WNBA, all kinds of good stuff. Let's hear from our sponsor. 30 seconds back with the rest of your questions after this.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
I got to win on Sleeper this week because I have not been winning on Sleeper at all. But because of, like I said.
Just take the under on every Giants prop, you'll win.
Right. The under. Yeah, exactly. On every Giants player, that'd be a good way to do it. Danny, thank you. He says, say next year the Giants fire Bowen. Would you want Antonio Pierce as a defensive? That is a very popular name, Antonio Pierce. Obviously won a Super Bowl year. He's a leader. He was one of our better defensive players. What do you think? Surprised they haven't brought him in anyway.
I'd leave that up to assuming we brought in a new head coach, I would leave that up to the head coach, whoever he feels is the best defensive coordinator for the type of team that he wants to have and the type of defense that he foresees. That's who you go with. Would Antonio Pierce be a popular pick? Of course. But, that's up to the head coach.
I want someone who wants a blitz.
Yeah.
If Antonio Pierce is on board with that, come on in.
Yeah, I'll be the defense coordinator. Go get him. Just rush the quarterback. I don't care what else you do. Just hey, Lawrence Taylor always said, if I didn't know the play, I just went after the quarterback. It worked for him. And Abdul Carter should do the same thing. No matter what they call for him, he should just rush the quarterback.
Yeah.
He's got to learn to tackle, though. Again, and I think that also falls on coaching. How is there such bad tackling everybody? This isn't an Abdul Carter thing. This isn't a Dexter Lawrence thing. This isn't a Kayvon Thibodeau thing. It's just everywhere. They can't tackle. But this one big reason why people love Drew Phillips. He actually can bring a guy down to the ground. But the tackling is so bad. I mean, how many times we have quarterbacks on the ground and they're dead to rights? We can't pull them down. Got a running back stop for a 2-yard loss. He ends up getting 5 yards because we can't bring him down. That's really frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Is that's basic. You're there, tackle. Not this team. Not this team. Yes, I got that one. H50, thank you, man. Can we keep Carmen Brasillo next year? He has made the offensive line look better.
I'm not sold yet on the offensive line. They look better against the Dallas Cowboys, the worst defense in football. They looked horrible against the Commanders. And when Andrew Thomas was out there, they looked pretty good last week. When he wasn't, I think they were pretty bad. Not equal to week 1, but I'm not sold on the offensive line yet. I got to see a full year before I'm willing to say that, yeah, this offensive line is starting to trend down the right path. I think that Cowboys game set a lot of false hope, not just for the offensive line, the offense in general, because that Cowboys defense is pitiful. It's probably the worst defense in the league.
You saw what the Bears did to them.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not sold on the offensive line yet.
We should have never lost that game.
Yeah.
What if we lost that? If we won that game, I wonder if that buys Russell Wilson another week, even though he's looked bad weeks 1 and 3. I wonder if that would have bought him another week. Or
I think it would have. I think 1 and 2. I think it would have. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thor, well, it probably could have, and then they would have started Dart in New Orleans if they lost.
Yeah, I think that's what would have happened if we lost week 4. Yeah.
Thor, thank you, man. He says, "What up, guys and gal? I think Dave's is afraid what Hyatt might say to the media, so he keeps him off the field." They even talked to Hyatt. Like, I don't even know what Hyatt's. I don't even know.
I saw on Twitter somebody said he's got like 8 snaps for the year. I didn't even know he was out on the field. Maybe it's special teams. Yeah,
I didn't.
I saw his garbage time snaps on Sunday's game till the end. But the fact that there were 8 sounds a lot more than I remember watching.
Maybe it was
so
6.
I could have sworn I saw him get 2.
Yeah, but I saw he had snaps, which I didn't realize.
I didn't even know what he
noticed. Like the last 2 minutes of the game.
Okay,
I noticed when Neighbors got hurt last week or on Sunday when he went out for a few plays with the rib injury, Bo Collins went in. It wasn't even Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, why is he here? Why is he even here? And again, I don't want to get into this. We'll talk more about this Friday because we're kind of going overtime anyway. In my opinion, we got to trade Russell Wilson. He's not coming. He's not playing again. You have gone to Jackson. You have given birth, and when you give birth, you can't put the kid back in the birth canal. That's it.
Is there even
that's your baby? You're going now.
Yeah.
Send him to the Bengals.
Who's willing to trade for him? How many teams?
Cincinnati could use him. Burrow's out for 3 months.
Yeah.
Take a 6th-round pick. Don't hold Russ hostage. He doesn't deserve it. Like Anthony said, it's not fair to Russ. Don't hold him here. Have him hold a clipboard. He wasn't here to be brought here to be a backup. Listen, I'm not going to get into this because I like Russ, so I'm just not happy with the way they treated him. And I understand he didn't play well, but still, to me, this was just Brian Daboll's buffer zone. Well, if we start off like shit and we suck, go Russ.
They shouldn't be. You shouldn't be surprised. They did the same thing to Eli Manning.
I'm not surprised, but I don't like it. I don't have to like it.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they treated him, and I don't like the way they treated Eli either.
Yeah,
they should have. That was a McAdoo thing.
I was talking about Daniel Jones' rookie year.
No, I know what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah.
Quinn, thank you, man. He says, if y'all had Dennis Allen as the defense coordinator, y'all would have beat Dallas. I mean, we could have had freaking Dennis Leary, and we would have won if he was our defensive coordinator. We got pressure on Dak, and he wasn't able to have much success against us on Sunday. I think he meant Mahomes there. Because he meant Pat. We got pressure on Pat, and he wasn't able to have as much success on Sunday, I think. But
No, I
Bowen
think he's
fucked.
referring to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Allen, defense coordinator, Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Well,
We actually got pressure this past week. I thought we got good pressure
We did.
for the most part throughout the majority of
I
that game.
actually thought
Yeah.
Bowen did okay this week.
Yeah.
He didn't sit back and play that song. He let the guys go after him, and we did
Too
get
many missed
pressure. So
opportunities for the defense. Too many dropped interceptions.
that's what
the
I'm
missed
saying.
tackles.
There was
Yeah.
plays there to be made, and they fucked it up.
I'm not standing up for Shane Bowen. I don't want Shane Bowen back next year.
Me
But
neither.
this past week, I actually thought the Giants defense, outside of those stupid missed opportunities, played well.
If we pick these pass off and Burns comes up with that or not Burns, I'm sorry, Okereke comes up with that fumble, totally different game.
Yeah.
Totally different game.
Yeah.
Our guy from across the pond where it's 1:12 in the morning, SPP Williams, the legendary one himself, says happy collective Dart Day. I'm looking forward to the final steps to the end. Dart in, loss. Kafka fired, loss. Bowen fired, all eyes on Dable.
I want to be excited, and you know what? I'm going to turn the page at this point. It's a new chapter. It's a new quarterback. I want to be excited for Jaxson Dart, and I am. I'm excited for week number 4 to see what we have. I went into this year, Williams, realizing that this was going to be a tough year. More than likely, we weren't going to win more than 5 or 6 games, and the whole year was going to be about Jaxson Dart for me. So for me, as much as it sucks to be 0-3, and we could easily be 2-1, but you could say that about any bad team in the NFL. You find ways to lose games. All these games are decided by a couple of plays every week. But for me, the season starts this week. Jaxson Dart is what we're evaluating. He's the potential future of this football team. So I'm excited to see what the kid's got. I'm nervous for him, being that he's got to start the gauntlet that he does. But hopefully, that makes him a better quarterback, right? Like what doesn't kill him will make him stronger. And he's definitely going to have to deal with a lot of adversity the first 4 or 5 weeks. I just hope the fan base realizes that and says, okay, let's give him the whole year. Let's see what he could do after these first 3, 4, 5 starts and see if he could grow throughout the course of the year. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see Jaxson Dart this week.
To be the man, you have to beat the man.
Let's
you didn't
do
do his pose, Chris. That's why I put that back up there. You got to do the SPP. You got to do the SPP William pose.
Oh, I did it.
Oh, I missed it. Oh, my bad.
Well, I'm also just going to add on SPP's super chat there. The sequence, the dart, and then the loss, and then the Kafka fired, and then all eyes on Dable. That's not how it's going to go. Dable's going to get fired before Mike Kafka. That's for sure.
I think so.
Get fired at the same time at the end of the year, more than likely.
Oh, well,
yeah, I don't think
Dable's
they're going to fire
mid-season
Dable
if this
mid-season.
continues.
Yeah, and Kafka's going to be the interim head coach. That's what I think.
He's the assistant head coach. So if Dable, I was saying this earlier that everyone's like they want Dable out so badly, which I agree, but I'm like the alternative is Mike Kafka. He's the only option. He's the assistant head coach, which means that if we fire Dable, you're looking at Kafka, who is the play caller, who everyone shits on week in and week out. He's the head coach. Like nothing is going to change. So I'm like, at this point, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah,
so I would rather just
doesn't matter to me if it happens in week 12 or week 18 after the year. It doesn't matter to me.
It's not going to make a difference. I don't think.
No. Let Priscilla be the head coach.
I think Dable's going to be fired within the next month.
Wow, you think so?
I'd be stunned. But
me too.
I've been stunned.
I think they're going to wait till the end of the season, regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
With Dart and how
I've been hearing some things. I don't think he's making it much longer.
Really?
I can see that happening.
Interesting.
Could you imagine if they fire Dable before Bowen?
Who knows? Clipside says
them all out January 15th. Start fresh.
Does it concern you that there may be an entire generation of kids who won't grow up to be Giants fans? A 13-year-old has never seen this team win. I always say I feel bad for the young fan base. But no, I think that is passed on from generation to generation. My dad grew up at a time when the Giants were awful. And I have guys older than me that grew up in that 70s. And they'll tell you that this is worse than the 70s Giants. But as bad as they were, and I got lucky because I started watching them in 84. But, that was kind of embedded in me. It's a family thing. But, if they do continue to be bad, there's a lot more distractions that, there's a lot more interests than just football now. I mean, it's not like when I was a kid, we didn't have all this technology and stuff to mess around with. So Sunday was kind of a family thing to watch the game with my dad and my grandfather. And But it don't concern me. I mean, people are going to be fans. They're going to be fans. It is what it is. But that's why there's so many Cowboys fans where I live.
Yeah.
Because in the 70s, they were on TV all the time. The Giants sucked, and everybody became Cowboys fans.
There's a lot more important things to be worried about in the world than worrying about the generation of Giants fans. And it goes, there's ebbs and flows. And this has been a long, a long drought. Arguably, like you said, Baddog, the worst period of time in Giants history. The old time fans would say, like you said, the 60s, the 70s. This is about as bad as it gets. But even when I first
said it's worse. They said at least the Giants defense was good in the 70s. It is.
But even when I started watching football, Baddog, not that it's comparable to this, but it was. The Giants weren't good for the most part.
At least they had years where they were in the postseason.
97, yeah, and then of course
94 they missed where they were 9-7.
Yeah,
like they weren't ever 3-14. Like they weren't the worst team in the league.
No, it's not even close to this. No. But it'll change.
93, 97, 2000, we won the NFC Championship. Like we had our moments. We'd have a bad year followed by a good year. This is just bad and bad, worse. It's.
I think what the Giants need. And I will say at the end of the year, I hate talking about this after just 3 weeks. But as of now, the way I feel, the Giants need their Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau came into the Knicks, an experienced head coach, and he got the ship turned around. And now the Knicks are headed in the right direction.
Well, you know what else happened? Dolan took a step back.
Yeah. That's what I feel.
You never need to do that. Take a step back, bring in the president of football operations, and let that guy do the football stuff.
Yeah.
Like, shit. Get rid of your friends. Stop fucking around and fire them all. Stop being a bitch. Yeah. Get rid of them. If you actually care about the team and you care about the fans and you say you're embarrassed about how bad they played, then do something about it. Talk is cheap.
The defenders said Tibbs had a terrible playoff record, but okay. First off, Tibbs got the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in forever. And I understand that the Knicks felt like they needed to move on to reach the next step, but the Knicks were irrelevant for the most part for 20 years before Thibodeau got there. Now we're talking about them being the favorites to go to the finals. You got to tip your cap a little bit to Thibodeau. He was a big part of getting that franchise turned around and headed in the right direction. I'm not even necessarily saying the coach that comes in is going to be the guy that gets us to the promised land, but I feel like we need a similar situation to that, a guy with credentials, a guy that could get this team headed in the right direction. And Tom Thibodeau, whether you hate him or whether you love him, certainly did that for the New York Knicks. But I didn't mean to cut you off, Adriana. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just going to say that I want them to bring in like a consultant who is going to make the final decisions when it comes to personnel. And John Mara and Steve Tisch are going to sit on the side and they're going to say, we hired you for a reason because you know how to run a winning football organization and you know how to bring in the right scouts who are going to bring in the right talent and coaches, etc. They have to bring in someone from the outside whose sole job is to focus on football operations and scouting and like enough of them making the final decisions, because it's getting like Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is a well-known joke of an owner. Mara needs to be the owner and not make decisions when it comes to hiring and personnel, because they obviously can't do it right.
Yeah.
Pass them by.
Yeah.
Neil says, I'll be at the game Sunday, and I'm very excited to see what Dark can do. Thank you guys for the greatest content. Let's go Big Blue. Well, thank you for that compliment.
Love Neil Believes. I see him on Twitter all the time. Always a really positive guy. So thank you for popping in there.
Neil, I hope your positive energy comes over my way, because I'm going to the game on Sunday. And as I was driving home Sunday night, I was like, fuck this team. I can't believe I have to go back to that shit ass stadium on Sunday.
That's me. I was, my post game was just like, I hate this team. Like, I really hate them. Like, they really, and then by Monday, I'm fine. It's just always right after the game. I'm like, I hate them, but I love them. I can't help. There's a fine line between love and hate.
Saturday, I'll be excited, I think.
B-Rock says, none of the coaches and the staff have the it factor for me. 100%.
I mean, how could you say that they do? The team, Dable did after year one, but since then, how could you be
kind of like McAdoo did after year one, and then McAdoo got full of himself, and that was into him, and I feel like Dable got that too. Little superiority complex. Feel like you can't tell me nothing. I know what I'm doing. Look at what I did, and no. That's not what it is. You have to listen to people. You can't just be like, I think Adriana said it last week, is my way or the highway. It's not it, man. You got to listen to your coaches. You got to game plan together. You got to work together. I don't feel like they do.
Mhm.
AD says, purge the whole staff regardless, but excited for Dart. It's headed that way. Our losses.
I'm excited. I can't wait for Dart. I'm excited. That's the one thing we have to look forward to this week.
Slaughterhouse. It's a great thumbnail. I'm a big horror fan. He says, Rex Ryan for DC.
Again, a guy that's been out of the league for so long, but he is a tremendous defensive coordinator. Say what you want about, even as a head coach, he did a lot of good things with the New York Jets. He's an asshole. I couldn't stand him as a Giants fan. But he hasn't coached in what, 15 years. He's a TV personality. I would be upset if they brought him in. He's a tremendous defensive mind, a great defensive coordinator, but I doubt it. I think he makes a good amount of money on ESPN. He's probably comfortable there.
I remember Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs says, he's a big belly coach with a big mouth. I want to punch him right in his face. he hated Rex Ryan. I mean, that's the only time I really disliked the Jets was when Rex Ryan was there. I hated Rex Ryan. But that's the type of guy where if he is on your team, you like him. But if he's if he's your opposition, you hate him. You know who else was like that? His brother, Rob Ryan. I couldn't stand that son of a bitch. Of course, he was on the Cowboys. Right. So it made even more sense. I couldn't stand either one of those. And, of course, I hated his dad because he was the Eagles head coach, and I fucking hated Buddy Ryan. That's why I hate the Eagles. People think this is recent. I've hated the Eagles since I was 9 years old. This is nothing new. And I've hated them since 1986. I can't stand them.
With Rex Ryan, you have to question his judgment. Didn't he have his wife get a Mark Sanchez tattoo? If I'm not
he had a feet thing too.
She got like the number 6 jet tattoo on her body or whatever it was.
I would still take him. He's got to be better than
crazy.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan got some screws loose. Michael, thank you, brother. Bo at right tackle, JMS on the bench, and keep 51 in the game more. Well, if you put Bo at right tackle, you're taking Illuminor out. I don't think you want to do that. I think Bo should be moved to guard. I mean, try him at right guard. Van Roten's long in the tooth. He's not going to be here next year anyway. So maybe you experiment with that. Try to look forward to something next year. But 51 doesn't.
I want to see Bo on the field. The thing with Bo, a lot of people, I feel like he's not big enough yet to. I think he said right tackle. I don't think they're shifting. Illuminor's played too good, and I don't think Bo yet has the size to move to the guard spot. But they got to find a way to get him in the line at least next year for sure. I think he definitely has a lot of potential.
Yes. B-Rog, what's going on, buddy? Last time the Giants fired a coach during the season was 1976.
Well, that's not true. They fired Ben McAdoo in season.
Right, 2017.
Yeah.
After the Eli debacle, they
it wasn't mid-season. It was like a game or two to go, but it did happen.
Right. Yeah. I think that happened. When did he get benched against the Raiders?
Whatever
it was. I don't remember, but he got fired immediately after that. B-Rog again. There he goes. Oops, forgot McAdoo. Other than him, thanks, Joe. There you go. He corrected himself. So, with that'll bring us to a close of another edition of Giants Collective. Really appreciate it. A huge crowd in here tonight. Over 600 people at one point. We still got 550 in here. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. We'll be back on Thursday at 7 o'clock to discuss more about Jaxson Dart and the game plan going forward and what this means for the New York Giants, Jaxson Dart in the future of the New York Giants. And maybe Young Wei Koo will be signed as well. We'll discuss that. And, of course, take all your questions as well. As always, huge shout out to Sleeper and SeatGeek for sponsoring portions of the show. You can check us out on Instagram and TikTok as well. You can also find us for all your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Spotify, Apple. If you listen to us on Apple, if you can leave a 5-star review, that would be great. So for Adriana, Anthony, and Entertainah, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Giants Collective. And we'll see you in the next one. Be good, everybody. Peace.